In conversation with Alfred Quinsay. Alfred Quinsay is an international author, a certified management consultant, CPA, and MBA. Efficient grip in the corporate world, he wrote more than 5 books consisting of real-world business scenarios which are very attention-grabbing. His latest book, Love is War is Love, serves as a fresh perspective on romance, politics, and business. And on today's episode of Photo Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today, Alfred Quinsay. Welcome on the show, Alfred.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Peter. Um, I'm so excited to meet your viewers on this show, and I would love to share some of my experiences as far as the book is concerned, from the publishing process up to how it come about came about this
Yeah,
book.
absolutely. It's my pleasure to travel all the way from here to Philippines. Been a while. I had someone there joining us. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, Alfred, I wanted to say that I found the description page of your book, Love is War is Love, to be quite amazing and compelling to me on Amazon. And I'm particularly intrigued about the particular title it has, Love is War. And again, there's a comma in there, War is Love, which seems to me to be entirely uncommon and unusual. And I'd like to ask you, how does this book come about? What inspired you to write Love is War is Love?
It's a good question. Well, Love is War, War's Love is a contemporary novel which
Mm.
deals with social, cultural, political, and business situation in a certain geographic location in the Philippines.
Oh.
The conflict arises when a major stakeholder, a giant corporation in China, plans to take over a small island in the Philippines to carry
Oh.
out their wicked schemes. Well, it was inspired by the book. Since you asked me about where this ancient Chinese military treaties in light of the present situation, which is the conflict between China and the Philippines over the South China slash West Philippine Sea.
Wow. That's quite compelling to know, really. And that sounds to me like a beautiful introduction to becoming an author. Thank you so much for sharing. And if you have a copy of the book there, I'd like you to show to the camera just so it's what it looks like.
Sure, here it is. Here it
Love
is.
is war.
Yeah.
War is love. Beautiful cover you've got in there. And I think that's a country map in there, right?
Yes, that's right. It's well, the publisher actually thought about this the cover of the book, the
Interesting.
the flag of China.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now, your diverse professional background include being a CPA and in an MBA degree and also working in various industries. How have these experiences influenced your writing and storytelling? Particularly like to hear your take on this. Us actually in any way, yeah?
Did a lot in terms of critical thinking, the background being a CPA with an MBA degree.
Mm,
It helped me in critical thinking and I guess becoming enlightened with not only the social issues but also business and political. It opened my mind to the underlying causes of how some major industries
mm.
exploit citizens within a country by conniving with its strongest ally, the
Oh,
politicians in the government.
wow.
I've also done some published research, which helped me tackle complex issues and in crafting the plot of my novel, which for me should be a balance between reality and fantasy.
Mm.
So I guess it somehow enhanced my thinking ability in terms of the background that I have as a CPA and
Wow.
was, with an MBA, especially in business.
That's quite amazing to know, really. I love the fact that you were
Thank
able
you.
to, share that with us because I realized that, most people, when it comes to writing, their background tends to have a much greater influence in becoming a writer. Take, for instance, someone who is a journalist. It's a beautiful way for you to become a writer because you're a journalist. You've heard so many stories.
Mm.
You've traveled a lot. You've heard stories from different people, even from people that are not well, shown in the media area, people that are little represented in the community. And again, take for instance, you're a lawyer, and you've heard so many stories, people come with different cases, or you're just an observer in court. It's also another idea for you to want to see that and say, oh, wow, of all these amazing stories I've been hearing every day, it is what that I make a book out of one. I know it's a lot,
Mhm.
yeah, but I make a book out of one. So I do love your take on that.
Yeah, it's like a part of the qualitative research that I've learned when I was, doing my research as an accountant, and
Mm,
somehow you get to know people and explore their world. So it was, I would say that it's quite an experience
yeah.
as and it helps me in in my work as a researcher as well, business
Mm,
researcher.
interesting. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Now, for the sake of readers who haven't read Love is War, War is Love yet, and of course, without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we would expect in terms of themes picking up the book? And also, please, I'd like you to tell us, yeah, what genre, yeah, is the book classified under?
Well, the backdrop of the story is the conflict between two neighboring countries in
Yeah.
Asia, China and Philippines. So I guess this is a bit political as well as, well, there's also a thriller aspect of this book, but it's more like the backdrop is the political, since China wants to extend its rule over a small archipelago, which is the
Mm.
Philippines, through
Oh,
its
wow.
spies. It's also a thriller type of novel. Well,
Mm.
just to mention the spy, without giving much of the details, the spy's name is uh, a former PLA Air Force officer, Tony Hua, who has amassed great wealth through arms trade and dealership.
Mm.
Now, his wife, Lily, was a Filipino Chinese who
Oh,
became an
wow.
accomplice to his devious plan. To further complicate some things, enter Emil, a spy for the Philippine Army. This guy was an engineer for a billionaire Taipan and the
Mm.
former lover of Lily, Tony Hua's wife. So here we see a complex game of deception, betrayal,
Wow.
and outwitting the enemy until its
Mm.
final explosive climax.
Oh, wow. I like the fact that you mentioned that you're gonna see a complex game of deception among the families, and also to see that it's such a constructing book in this way, having a war between two Asian countries, China and Philippines. And now, this want to make me to go to my next question. Yeah, because you've written in an amazing team that might spark some controversy. Yeah, now I want to ask you, one of the most interesting to me as a writer is the fact that, readers would interpret your book differently. And you want to agree with me that, one of the things that make literature to be complex in its entirety is the fact that it can be interpreted by different readers in different ways. Sometimes the readers might get the message intended by the author. Sometimes they might be close to getting the message intended by the author. Sometimes they might be far from getting the message. Sometimes they might just hilariously mix the entire message in a way I cannot explain, yeah. But then, as interesting and as fun as it sounds, I would like to ask you, how do you feel when readers interpret your works differently than you intended. I mean, especially for someone who has written on this particular team, because your team to me sounds to be quite, argumentative. It's someone that if you spark one, you go, oh, no, no, I'm not going to agree with this. Yeah. But then I like to hear your take. How do you feel when people interpret your works differently than you intended?
I guess there would always be differences, not necessarily on how it was presented, but
Mm.
on how readers interpret the message of the story, which can be influenced by their biases, which everyone
Oh.
has, including myself.
Mm.
So this happens even in highly technical subjects like accounting and engineering.
Mm.
So as a writer, I see myself as a communicator. And one thing I've learned as a communicator is that one has to challenge the mind, touch the heart, and tickle the funny bones of the audience in order to get your message across and
Mm.
to call them to action. But because of our biases and stereotypes, their
Yeah.
messages does not come across as one intends it to be.
Mm.
So I learned this over time. One cannot force one's belief over another. They will simply become defensive or dismiss your plea. So you can
Mm.
only challenge their misconceptions and open their minds. It's like
Absolutely.
planting a seed of ideas and let it grow
Mm.
upon them as if it came from them. So I think if I have done that, I guess I have succeeded in getting my message across despite
Wow.
differences in their interpretations.
Yeah, interpretation is quite crucial in the market world today.
Yeah.
And people, we all have different brains, we all have different ideas and opinions. And sometimes it's hilarious how some readers will just twist a book. You were like, wow, really? Honestly speaking, I never thought it that way. They will twist the entire interpretation and twist the whole thing in a way that will even shock you as an author.
Yeah, that's right. Uh, I'm pretty shocked because, especially when I was a novice writer, I
Uh,
thought that I was so in love with my ideas, but the other person doesn't think the way I think. So
yeah.
I guess it comes with maturity somehow,
Mm.
you know,
Oh,
adjust
wow.
also.
That's amazing of you to say it comes with maturity. That's lovely. Thank you. Now, what can readers expect from your future writing project? Are there any upcoming books or themes you're excited to explore in your next literary endeavors?
Yes, most definitely. The next project will be released soon, around January of next year. I
Wow.
incorporated technical subject matters combined with masterful storytelling in my next
Oh,
project. Yeah.
interesting.
The theme delves into the dark side of the human psyche and finding the balance between altruism and wickedness.
Mm.
Uh, it's like becoming wise as a serpent and but maintaining the innocence of a dove. You know, human nature is complex, whether in business, relationships, or even politics. People neither respond well to either extremes. One
Mm.
cannot be too shrewd or clever, or they will incur resentment and fear and will be later avoided.
Wow.
Conversely, one cannot be too good or too nice, or you will become prey to these human predators who are out for no good. You know,
Mm.
I guess you'll agree with me, Peter, when I said that human nature is quite complex in the sense that they are both they are both devious and gullible at the same time. And this next
Absolutely.
project, and this next project crosses this theme plus more.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Very, very true. Very, very true and very evident in our contemporary world, especially among the young folks and even adults too. Yeah.
Yeah, even as adults.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for a lovely take on that. Now, I'd like to ask you, because as a person myself and as a to be novelist, I've always been fascinated, taken aback, surprised, shocked by our authors, especially novelists like yourself, would sit down and craft long sentences and bring words together in a way that paragraphs come together to make pages, and pages come together to make chapters, and chapters coalition come together to make an amazing novel like the one you've just traced to the camera. And this always leave me thinking, how did they sit down, craft these long words, craft these sentences to form paragraphs, to form pages, to form chapters, and even people would go into from one book to another book, the third book, the fifth book. It's always surprising to me. And I'd like to ask you, as far as writing is concerned, how do you get your inspirations and ideas to sit down and craft these words in a way that keep transitioning beautifully from one chapter to another and the eventual forming of a great book?
I guess aside from having too much time, uh, I guess I believe that there has to be an overarching mission or drive from within that,
Absolutely.
that you know that deep down you're made for this, or you have a
Mm,
message that you want to get across. All those years a writer underwent were not wasted years, but part of
mm,
the discovery and honing
absolutely.
process in order to refine your message into writing. I've always been inspired by altruism and virtues like
Mm,
wisdom, courage, perseverance, and justice. But at the same
wow.
time, I'm also fascinated with the dark side of the human psyche.
Mm,
There are a replete of examples in the Bible which exemplifies these traits, contrasting
mm,
characteristics, hinting on these great men and women. In our society
wow.
today, especially in our digital age,
Mm,
there is a need to revive these virtues, but at the same time, being able to recognize this transgressive, I call this transgressive nature in each
mm.
of us.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. I love your take on that. I love the fact that you mentioned that, yeah, there's an overarching mission and drive from within that you ought to follow all through the novel and keep that at the point of your mind while you continue to write the book. Yeah, okay, this is the message I'm trying to convey. I won't stop until I get to the end of this. And that just keep driving you on to craft the paragraph, to craft the pages, and to keep the book going on smoothly. That's such a beautiful statement to make.
Yeah, I think just like a company, they have this mission and
Yeah,
vision. So
absolutely.
there has to be a driving force in your
Yeah,
action behind your actions.
absolutely. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Alfred. I've been enjoying your response to this question so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Those are great questions, challenging, but yeah, really nice, good
Uh,
questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'd like to ask you, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing your book and also ever since you've got published? And again, the second part today is how do you handle criticism as a writer? I'd love to hear your take on that too.
To be honest,
Yeah.
because I've been honest before, I seldom self-publish my book. I usually have a
Oh,
publisher in the UK,
yeah.
Olympia Publishing, doing the publishing process from the book cover to the amended manuscript and all the
Mm,
nitty-gritty details involved in the publishing process.
yeah.
I let professionals do their work as far as the technical process involved before public release. If
Mm,
there are any amendments or revisions I want to incorporate in order to enhance the novel, I let my publishers know, and they give me a free hand to do so with the edited manuscript. So I also take, with regard to your second question,
mm,
I also take criticisms with a grain of salt because with the amended, whenever my publisher gives me the amended manuscript,
mm,
I feel like uh, my grammar is way far out. So I take criticisms with a grain of salt, and I use
mm.
it to enhance my work as a writer and how
Wow.
it could be better for my next project.
Interesting. Oh, wow. I love your take on that. That is very amazing, very lovely, and quite educative. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Yeah. And now, from that, I want to transition a bit now. What sort of advice would you give a struggling writer, someone who is struggling to writing, publishing, and getting a book out there like yours? What would you advise people in this category?
I guess one of the most challenging, if not traumatic, things a new writer has to undergo is to
Traumatic.
get, yeah, traumatic, is to get his or her book published in the market.
Mm,
Well, it is important that the new writer work with an experienced proofreader or a book reviewer to evaluate his or her book that will provide some impartial perspective on his work.
mm,
You, you can agree with me here,
yeah,
Peter, that as a novice writer, we become so attached with our story that we begin to think the infallibility
yeah.
of our work. It seems that it's almost like flawless or something like that. But a
Absolutely.
trained, impartial eye can make us more grounded and enhance our book before publishing.
Mm,
So I guess just to sum it, to sum it with regard to the advice I would give the new writer is to have a someone who can give some some insightful advice with regard to the written manuscript.
well, I love your take on that. And thank you so much for sharing. And I'm hoping that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. Thank you so much, Alfred. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah, and before we call it a day today, is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers about your book and writing that we did not mention in this interview? I'd love the viewers to know. Is there anything?
Yes, there is. The title Love is War, War is Love is a symbolic adaptation of an ancient Chinese philosophy and the book The Art of War.
Oh,
In the midst of our seemingly safe, peaceful, and mundane existence, which we have been accustomed with, is a war brewing in our midst.
mm,
Like the art of war, the enemy is taken by surprise, and its downfall is not a consequence of a forceful attack, but a
mm,
subtle hint provided by the enemy himself.
mm,
The proverbial enemy in this context is the one who fails to plan in the time of peace. He
mm,
fails to plan in the time of peace. Now, wartime came and he has nothing to draw upon. So it is his undoing that is his downfall,
mm. Oh, wow.
aggression or forceful attack.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Alfred. I mean, this has been quite awesome, quite amazing, quite a class. Yeah. Quite a class with a professor.
Well, I must agree that your questions are quite challenging, and it's I felt like I'm in a I'm answering all these essay questions. So
Like a lecture hall.
yeah, you're
Thank
the
you.
professor and I'm the student.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other way around. Thank you so much, Alfred. That was quite great. And just in case we have some readers or some viewers rather, who are currently watching this interview and would love to get a copy of Love is War, War is Love, what platform is it available on for purchase?
Well, the book is internationally released and is also distributed in Waterstones,
Oh,
Barnes
interesting.
and Nobles, and Walmart in the US, and in major online stores aside from Amazon UK, US, and India. Or you can just Google Alfred Quinsay. So there's a, list there that you can click. The Google link will lead you to the stores that is available that are available.
Okay, that's great. That's amazing. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Alfred Quinsay's books directly on Amazon, on Waterstones, on Barnes& Nobles, on his website, and also on other platform. Also left links to his social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Alfred, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. I must say that it's more than awesome. Very lovely having this conversation with you around the beautiful title. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Peter, for inviting me in your show. And I really feel so honored, and it's a pleasure for me to guest in your show.
It's my pleasure
Also,
as
the
well.
viewers.